So this is streaming now on YouTube. I'll just make the webinar live and then start with introduction.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to start. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's session on fleet safety, a session which is aptly titled Fleet Management, Creating a Culture of Safety. This session is brought to you by the team at Commercial Vehicle Forum, or as we are more popularly known, CVF, in partnership with Shell Fleet Solutions. My name is Rohit Dewan, and I'm the Portfolio Director at CVF. While most of you are already aware, but for some of the new attendees who are joining us, just to give you a quick introduction, Commercial Vehicle Forum, or CVF as we are more popularly known, is India's premium C-level commercial vehicle and road transport event. And before we start today's session, I wanted to just share a small quick update that we are very pleased to inform you that we've launched Transport Utsav as well. Transport Utsav, as the name suggests, is a complete festival of transport that brings together truck owners and fleets who will be attending, alongside solution providers such as trucks, tires, lubricant, finance, insurance, engine, truck technology, and component companies who will be showcasing their products. We are organizing this exhibition in association with the Nalagarh Truck Operators Union, which is Asia's biggest transport union with around 4,000 to 5,000 members. The two-day exhibition will take place on 3rd and 4th of March 2023 in Baddi. We will have participation from over 10,000 visitors from the trucking community at this event. So do join us for the same if possible. Next, moving on to the agenda for today's session. As part of the introduction, I will be introducing the speakers and moderator for today's session. Our moderator will then give a quick overview of our session for today and will initiate the panel discussion. We will also devote a minute or two during the discussion to run a few polls to obtain your feedback. We will also be taking few audience questions towards the end. Your active participation is essential to make this event a success. Right now, we have you all in listen-only mode, but here is how you can interact with us. You can ask us questions. At the bottom of the screen, you will see a control panel with a Q&A box. Please feel free to send us your questions in the Q&A box. We will take those questions in the Q&A segment of today's session. You can also choose to upvote these questions. This will help us in addressing the most burning topics. We also invite you to share your insights in the poll questions that we will be regularly flashing on your screens. Do note that we have this session streaming live on YouTube, and anyone who has registered will also receive a recording of this session post the completion of the session. Apart from that, I request you to share your insights in the feedback form that will open as soon as you exit the session. If there's something else you're interested in learning, please do feel free to reach out to us. So before we begin today's session, I would like to introduce and thank our partner Shell Fleet Solutions for supporting the session. Shell, a very well-known company, as you all know, is an integrated energy company that aims to meet the world's demand for energy in economically, environmentally, and socially responsible ways. They use advanced technologies and take an innovative approach to help build a sustainable energy future. With a retail presence across 6 states that includes Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Assam, Shell is expanding its network of fuel stations across the country. Shell Fleet Solutions, the B2B arm of Shell Retail, caters to the mobility needs of fleet owners. With an integrated offering across differentiated fuels, telematics, and nature-based solutions. Shell Fleet Solution has been present in more than 30 countries across the globe for 60 years, making them the biggest B2B fuel card company, with over 1.65 million customers transacting with them every day. Their mission is to become their customers' first choice for sustainable mobility solutions through trust, transparency, and value. So now, moving on to the panel discussion, I would briefly like to introduce our expert speaker group. Firstly, I would like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Jain, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Interstate Oil Carrier Limited, a Kolkata-based logistics company. Mr. Sanjay Jain has an experience of over 30 years in the transportation sector, Through his extreme devotion and deep insight towards the improvement of the company, he has managed a turnaround and has acted as an instrument in leading the company to its current leading position. He is a learner who thrives on knowledge and is associated with the Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management. He's also a governing body member of Birla High School, the treasurer of West Bengal Tankers Association, and committee member of Calcutta Goods Transport Association. He's a regular participant in the specialized top management programs on advanced logistics management at the IIMs. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Gopi Sankar M, who is Vice President and Chief Engineer of Advanced Vehicle Program at Ashok Leyland. Mr. Gopi Sankar is currently leading the new energy and safety initiatives, including hydrogen fuel cell, electric trucks, and ADAS at Ashok Leyland. Earlier, as the chief engineer of the AVTR platform, he delivered India's first modular truck platform in the MNHCV segment from 19 to 55 tons. Prior to AVTR, he had led Ashok Leyland's successful foray into the LCV segment as chief engineer or for those and partner platforms. In total, Mr. Sankar has over 25 years of experience in automobile new product engineering through the entire life cycle from concept startup to commercial production. Our third speaker is Dr. Kamal Soy, who is an internationally acclaimed EV, road, rail safety scientist, sustainable transport, and smart city expert. He has a doctorate in transportation management and in transit losses. He has been working in the field of transportation management, railway safety, ITS, road safety, accident prevention, NCAP from last 20 years. He has handled legal, financial, technical, and non-technical assignments in and out of government and has worked in close association with municipal, railways, planning, police, and civil authorities in India and over 20 countries. Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Giri Prasad Nair, who is head of Fleet India at Shell. Mr. Nair is a mobility business leader who's truly passionate about reframing business outcomes through people. He has proven experience in delivering tangible benefits in a broad range of business and people issues across various roles in top two multi-point retail brands, McDonald's and Shell. Our fifth speaker for the session is Mr. Bal Malkeet Singh, who's owner at Bal Road Lines and Chairman Core Committee, AIMTC. Mr. Singh is a true truckers and transporters leader who eats, thinks, and sleeps for them. His continuous activism, actions, and sense of values and integrity has made him very popular and catapulted him to be the voice of road transport industry of India. And he actively represents their concern with the central and state governments. Our final speaker for the session is Mr. Kaushik Narayan, who is CEO of Leap Trucks, India's largest online platform for sale and purchase of used truck, buses, and construction machinery. He's also joint MD of the PSN Group, among the largest CV and CE dealers in the country, with a presence across the southern states. Kaushik started his career in the US with Capgemini's consulting business, where he worked with customers in healthcare, federal government, and retail sectors. He subsequently worked with Limited Brands, a large US-based specialty retailer, overseeing production and operations based in New York. He moved back to India in 2010 to join and expand his family's dealership business. In terms of his education, Kaushik has a master's from Ohio State and an EMBA from Kellogg HKUST. Finally, our moderator for the session is Mr. Kaushik Madhavan, who is well-renowned mobility consultant and advisor. He brings with him well over 2 decades of experience in the automotive industry, especially strategic consulting and market research. His experience base covers a wide range of sectors, leveraging long-standing working relationships with senior management executives in the automotive industries. In terms of his education, he did his Master's of Science in Automotive Systems Engineering from RWTH Aachen, Germany, and Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore, India. We are incredibly honored to have him on board today as a moderator for the session. Over to you, Kaushik, to take it forward.
Thank you very much, Rohit. I hope I'm audible. Just a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's always a pleasure to be a part of the CVF panels, Rohit. It's wonderful. You've done a very good job so far. And huge thanks to you and your team for organizing wonderful webinars and of course in-person conferences as well. So today's topic that we are gathered here to discuss about safety in commercial vehicles and how we can create an ecosystem that is going to improve safety not only for commercial vehicles but also the other stakeholders involved in the trucking industry or the commercial vehicle fleet industry. Now, for whatever reason, when it comes to safety in India, especially in the commercial vehicle segment, the importance that has been associated or assigned to safety in commercial vehicles hasn't been great. If you look at how the evolution of the commercial vehicle has happened over the past, let's say, a couple of decades, right? Whenever we talk about safety, the first vehicle segment that is always looked at is the passenger car segment, right? Followed by maybe to a little extent two-wheelers, then buses, and maybe then trucks. So for some reason, the commercial vehicle industry, especially trucks, haven't been given the importance that they deserve. But thankfully, the situation is changing. Over the past, let's say, 2 to 3 years, we are seeing more and more movement in the safety space from multiple directions, right? One, we've got regulatory mandates that are coming in that are looking to mandate simple, basic safety technologies like ABS, airbags, or maybe going forward even ESP as well, that are going to help reduce accidents in a big way across the commercial vehicle segments. Additionally, the involvement of technology, something that we are going to discuss as well today, is looking at involvement of electronics, fleet management systems. They are transforming the way safety is looked at in the commercial vehicle space. We've got a lot of examples, in the global market that we can learn from. With the likes of the Volvo Group or Daimler Group, investing such huge amounts in active safety technologies for their vehicles. Hopefully, we will see some of those technologies trickle into the Indian market, not just in a manner of, just copying and pasting whatever is available in the Western markets, but looking at technologies that are tailored to the Indian market, that are affordable, that are more implementable in the Indian market. And that's what we need to look at and discuss as well. So I'm very, very happy to be amongst you, and talk about some of the areas that we should look into when we talk about commercial vehicle safety going forward in the Indian context. Dr. Soy, I'd like to come to you first. You are part of the government and, let's say a body that authorizes or mandates regulatory, framework. And I happened to read an article on Hindustan Times, I think a few days ago, where you had mentioned and you talked about speeding and drunken driving. That's a topic I want to start with, because it's a very serious topic. Number one, it's very important considering the Indian driving conditions, and no better person than you to open this discussion with something that is serious and that is going to have a long-standing impact on the entire value chain in the commercial vehicle fleet. So now this has always been a sensitive topic, commercial vehicle fleets, right? While speeding may not be that much of an issue considering the average speed of trucks in India, drunken driving is still a big challenge in India, right? So there are multiple ways to address it. One is driver awareness, education. Penalties is last, right? I personally don't consider penalization to be among the top motivators for implementing anything, right? It's awareness and education that should come first. So I'd like to hear your opening comments and thoughts on how do you see the safety enhancement being implemented on Indian highways, not only for commercial vehicle drivers, but also for other commercial vehicle ecosystem stakeholders, right? Suppliers, retailers, service facilities, and even pedestrians, people who may not be directly involved in commercial vehicle fleets, but may become part of the accident, scenario in unfortunate cases. So what are your thoughts on enhancing safety on Indian highways when it comes to commercial vehicles?
Thank you, Kaushik, and thank you, Rohit Diwan, for organizing this wonderful seminar on fleet management. And I heard Kaushik with real passion on safety. Kaushik, let me start with this, that in India, we lose around 160,000 people mercilessly on our roads. And I always, my voice is a little hoarse these days because of pollution, but please bear with me. But, out of these 160,000 lives which have been lost, today's topic is very apt and very genuine to address this issue. about 40 to 45% of all these deaths are contributed to commercial vehicles. When I'm talking about commercial vehicles, I'm talking about the buses, the trucks, the LMVs, and all those pickup vans, and etc., etc., etc. And these people, the data which shows that the uneducated are killing educated. About 40% of these deaths are caused by the drivers who are less than 8 standard pass, and further going around less than 60% of those are killed by people who are less than 10th standard pass. So meaning the illiterates are killing the literates, and we are losing the young valuable human resource on our roads. About 15 to 29 in the age group of 15 to 29, the loss is about 60%. So we are losing young valuable human resource. Let me tell you, we have a lot of the fleet owners sitting with us today and maybe listening to us as well. We are least concerned about the safety. I'm making a statement and I mean it. We are least concerned about the safety. About 10 years back, India came out with the notification of installing speed governors, the speed limiting devices in the vehicles. But these people, the transporters, the unions, and etc., they made a hue and cry, and they never let this happen. In comparison, I was working with Anthony Fox, the US Secretary of State of Transportation in the United States, under Bill Clinton. They wanted to reduce those fatalities caused by commercial vehicles. They came out with the speed limiting devices in their vehicles, and it's 100% implementation. You said penalization doesn't help. In contrary, I am of the firm opinion, it is the enforcement which matters. Enforcement on our roads is hardly seen. And you're right, their speed may be less, but their impact is so high that they kill people, in bulk. If you look at the fatalities, one car hits a truck, all the occupants of the cars will die, but nothing will happen to the driver because he's sitting around 7 to 8 feet above the road level. So in the opening, I'll say the safety in commercial vehicles, safety by commercial vehicles, safety by the drivers. I will maybe, if I get another chance to speak, I will speak, but we have done a search on around 10 to 15,000 drivers of these commercial vehicles. And we have found about 98% of all of them, they are addicts. If they are not addicted to the liquor, they are addicted to some other intoxicants. And I was in Satyamev Jayate, I was doing a program with Amir Khan, and we did a study from Baroda to Mumbai, and we asked few drivers, how you drive in the night? What was the answer? We drive in the night. We don't drive in the night. A vehicle automatically runs. So they leave the vehicle on its own, and the driving is has become just a joke. So leaving to the group to talk more, I conclude my opening remarks. Commercial vehicle safety is very, very important, and we are losing about half the number of people out of 160,000 due to commercial vehicles.
Thank you very much, Dr. Soy. I mean, some very, very shocking numbers there. You said 45% of the deaths, of the 150,000 or the 160,000 are caused by commercial vehicles, right? And personally, and I completely agree with you. When you talk about education, right, a majority of them are maybe just 8th standard or 9th or 10th standard pass. I think that's a larger social issue, isn't it? Because the importance that we associated with the truck driver's job is so poor, right? Nobody wants to do it. But whereas in other countries, let's say in Western countries, there is a minimum level of dignity associated with the truck driver's job, which is not present in India. We need to change that. And I'll come back to you later as well. And 98% you said were addicts in some form or the other. I mean, personally, I did not know that, but that's a very, very shocking number. So I want to take that to Gopi. Dr. Soy mentioned, some very, very alarming numbers. And coming from you, from an OEM's perspective, from a truck manufacturer's perspective, now, first of all, before that, congratulations. I think Ashok Leyland rolled out the 100,000 AVTR truck very recently. That's a wonderful platform. I think Rohit also mentioned, in the beginning during your introduction as well. The AVTR platform, has been a very, very robust platform that sees application across tonnage segments, right? So now, obviously, that platform comes with your next generation iAlert fleet management system, right? Where you're talking about remote diagnostics, providing enhanced safety, higher reliability, durability, driver comfort as well, and of course, all put together enhancing productivity, right? For a fleet operator, enhancing productivity is the topmost goal. Now, as we see Ashok Leyland moving towards electrification, right, through switch mobility or ohm mobility, there are two parts that I'd like you to talk about. One is, how do you see the integration of your iAlert FMS platform to an electric fleet, for example? Because safety in an electric fleet is going to be completely different from how we see safety in a conventional fleet, right, with diesel engines or CNG vehicles. So how do you see that transition of iAlert to an electric fleet, number one, from a fleet management perspective? And second part of the point I want you to talk about is, what impact is it likely to have on safety? Dr. Soy mentioned, about speed governors being taken off the vehicles by a lot of these fleet operators. And I completely agree with him, because I have interacted with quite a few fleet operators and they are not happy with fleet governors for whatever reason, right? Speed governors for whatever reason. So from a manufacturer's perspective, what are the challenges you see in enhancing safety on our roads, especially when it comes to commercial fleets?
Yeah, thanks, Kaushik. The two great questions. And Dr. Soy, I was also really alarmed at the numbers. It's a huge number. But what Dr. Soy's indicated was a very correct one. In sense, the vehicle, the commercial vehicles are typically heavy vehicles. And, when it travels even at 40, 50 kilometers per hour, it has such a momentum that it can break through multiple vehicles or multiple obstacles on the way, creating a bigger accident than a smaller vehicle. This is an impact of a vehicle outside the truck, and also within the truck there are safety concerns. There are issues of vehicle getting rolled over, and there are cases where the rear load has jammed the front driver and the driver has lost his life. So these are also the cases which are coming up, and both cases the driver loses control and the the result of the accident multiplies than what it was originally there. That is one of the biggest impact of a commercial vehicle, particularly the bigger vehicles. And there, if you add a kind of inflammable fuel vehicles and all, you can really be much bigger with a gas or a gas tanker or the petroleum tankers. But this is a real concern. There's no doubt about it. And now there are a lot of technologies that are coming up, and I would like to touch upon those, particularly in line to the electric vehicle, as well as the impact on the safety going forward. Now, the first thing, I think baby step is already taken, where there's a system called telematics, which in a way gets the data from the different systems in the vehicle, and through a SIM card is able to propagate the data into a central server where the advanced warnings can be given. Going forward, what is going to come across is we're going to install a lot of cameras, radars, and lidars. Now, this is the question which specifically also Dr. Soy said. People are not following the speed rules. People are coming addicted and sitting in the driver. So what this technology, a couple of technology I thought I will indicate. There's a camera facing the driver. So the camera has an inbuilt software which is able to judge whether the driver is focusing on the road or not. Now, this has a big impact because it gives a warning to him. Sometimes he may not be addicted. He may be just going to sleep due to long running hours. So it gives him a warning. It gives a warning to the backend fleet manager as well. So the fleet manager who keeps watching at these vehicles can even alert the driver or take precautionary steps to safeguard not just the precious lives of the people, but also his own goods, which is again is a huge cost for him, which is getting transported. That is on the inside. Towards the outside, we will have additional radars and cameras, which will forewarn a possible accident. Now here, of course, there are questions asked, can it literally stop? No. But this forewarning can really reduce 70% of the accidents, because it is the time to brake, the time to take a decision by the driver, which is what he misses. And that is where this front forewarning will help us. So the electric vehicles is more apt to take this kind of challenges, because it's fully electric connected, and we have already have the camera, the servers, the radars already fixed in the vehicle. So we will have this feedback coming from both the environment as well as inside. So what this takes care is, even if it tweaks the speed, even the front cameras can record the events, can use the feedback at the speed is going, and can forewarn you that there is a vehicle at so and so distance, and there is a chance that you're going to collide with it. So take care. Secondly, internally, person is closing the eyes. The way there's a lot of study that has been done on the human behavior, particularly that there's a clear difference between a man who is addicted, who is sleeping, versus a man who is clear, conscious, and awake. So those are captured in the software, and almost 80 to 90% of the time, it is able to give an update on the feedback. So these are the couple of things which is coming up. And once these are implemented, many of these accidents, I feel at least 70 to 80% will get, at least stopped before it happens. Now, I'm not explaining detail, consider time, but with the next question come, I can explain much more detail.
Understood. Thanks a lot, Gopi, for that. Very, very valid points. You spoke about, in-vehicle camera technology, right? That's actually one of the big mega trends within the commercial vehicle industry. A lot of companies which are, spending, huge investments on in-camera monitoring technology, driver monitoring technology. Hopefully that will, help reduce accidents in a big way. Giri Prasad, I want to come to you next. I was reading about the Shell's Accelerate to Zero program, right? So where you're talking about, zero emissions, zero fatalities, zero accidents, and so on. Although, one of the primary goals of the Accelerate to Zero program was to reduce emissions, have a net zero ecosystem, for different fleets and across countries as well. This also means integrating, safety, driving behavior, vehicle health monitoring, and everything, into the overall roadmap of Accelerate to Zero, right? Now, you heard Gopi speak about how technology is getting integrated into a vehicle. Now, as also an external provider of fleet management systems, from your Shell fleet management systems, one of the challenges that you face is looking at different OEMs with different platforms. Every OEM has its own unique set of platforms, unique set of technologies, right? How do you see, as a third-party fleet management technology provider, how do you see Shell playing a role, considering the Indian context, right? Moving towards the zero program, whether it is zero accidents, fatalities, or even emissions and going forward. So how do you see the role Shell is going to play in a country like India, which is still emerging, and we still have a lot of challenges to talk about when you talk about safety?
Thank you, Kaushik, for that wonderful question. And firstly, Dr. Soy, really alarming numbers there. But what I really wanted to start with is a deep dive into those numbers itself. Yeah. One, the starting point is that accidents are actually caused. It doesn't happen. We usually start with a discussion point that accident happened, and while without realizing that it actually is caused. The second, you do a deep dive, statistics prove that it is 100,000 unsafe acts, like changing lanes without indicator, harsh braking, etc., which is what leads to one fatality. And when we talk about 100,000 fatality, look at the billion unsafe acts that has led to this. The third particular aspect is when we actually see people who have lost their life, the impact on their family, a minimum family size of 4, look at the huge impact that it is actually causing. And what we don't see are the people who have had first aid cases, who have had permanent amputations, and have been impacted for life because of those accidents. So that's the level of seriousness with which we actually need to see this, because at some point, all the people who join a fleet or a business is actually joining to aid this business progress and also to make a difference to their life journey. So I'm sure none of the panelists, none of the fleet operator would want to create such an impact to the life of any individual who's associated with them. So with that, then let me just quickly move on to the point that you just asked. What is the role of Shell? And specifically, the one particular thing that I see is we are probably one of the business which is very closest to the ground, where technology is emerging, like Dr. Gopi said, and where the roads and the infrastructure is actually changing with the government interventions, and the new rule comes in at every now and then. When I say road, be it on road standards or be it on traffic regulations, what is really required is then the change management. And a slight difference from what Dr. Soy said is, one, he did link it to the educational background of people, but you actually look at people who are educated, there again there is a different, you can see a similar behavioral trait. For someone who's actually adhering to a speed limit and then is driving, there are always a group of people who are classified as people who don't know driving, yeah, who speed past us is always an idiot. And this is a case that is there with everyone. So I think classifying that, it is already about the life skill that one needs to actually bring in. It is about the awareness of fatigue management that can only be seen. And then finally, in a world of digital disruption, where even a driver wants to look at his WhatsApp and listen to his friend every 2 minutes, it's about how that change management can come in, and the intervals can come in. So where Shell would actually be interested, or rather will be working deeply, is one, around the change management piece in itself, which is to bring in some of the best practices from across the globe, specifically around the fleet management and the driver management habits, and then inbuild that as a solution to the mobility needs. The second is at the retail sites that we have, using those as a hub of safety, where we can propagate safety messages to the drivers, so that when they take that call of not following a U-turn and then or continuing a wrong turn, it can actually create that sense that, okay, should I or shouldn't I? And that yes no is what we will try to influence. And that will come with an array of activity, on ground activations with the driver community, working extensively with the fleet owners, and even a bit of advocacy with the government.
Thank you, Giri Prasad. I think you touched upon a couple of very, very important points. One is change management, right? I think we need to change the mindset, of not only the drivers but also the entire set of stakeholders involved in the ecosystem, including the fleet managers, who sometimes I have seen encourage drivers to do the things that you listed, driving on the wrong side, taking illegal U-turns. They are encouraged by the managers, which we need to somehow stem. I think this would be the right time to run the poll. Rohit, if I can request you to run the first question on the poll, and I want to use that as a segue to talk about certain points on safety. So if we can have the first poll question go live, please. There you go. So to everybody who's attending, please pick and choose any one of the options that you think it is going to take to build a safety culture in the automotive or in the commercial vehicle industry today. So let's give it 10 seconds, 20 seconds for you to make your choice, and and then we can have Rohit and the CVF team publish the results. Excellent. Yeah. So I hope everybody has made the choice. Rohit, can we see the results if they are ready? Whenever they're available. Excellent. So yeah. So I mean, no surprises there. So all of the above. So everybody thinks 77%. So practically everybody thinks driver training, investing in technology, and vehicle maintenance. Right. All three are very, very important aspects. I think. The panelists before this have also spoken about these things in terms of how educating the driver, investing in technology, and ensuring the vehicle is in top condition contribute together to building a safety culture. Excellent. So with that, I'll come to you, Kaushik. You come from a very, very unique perspective, right? You are now the founder and also the CEO of Leap Trucks, a pre-owned vehicle, commercial vehicle platform. In fact, interesting. I'd like to draw upon my own experience. A few years ago, we have worked with from my previous role in Frost & Sullivan. We worked with a couple of OEMs on the pre-owned car study, right, on pre-owned car market. We also wanted to discuss a few things with the commercial vehicle OEMs, the pre-owned truck study, right? If you look at, maybe it is not very different for pre-owned commercial vehicles, right? If we looked at the findings in the pre-owned car study, if we asked the pre-owned vehicle buyers to list their top 4 or 5 considerations when they are looking to buy a pre-owned vehicle, it was fuel efficiency, brand, price of the vehicle, service costs, maintenance, and so on. Safety, unfortunately, was never in the top 5 considerations, right? And we have seen that, right? Over the past 3 to 4 years, it is changing, but very, very slowly, right? Now, the importance of safety is increasing, number one, primarily because of the communications we see in the media on NCAP, crash ratings, star ratings, number of airbags, and so on and so forth. How has this impacted the commercial vehicle industry? So from your perspective, right, whenever you see people coming in to buy a pre-owned vehicle, what are their considerations? Number one. Number two, is safety among the top 3 or 4 considerations at all, right? What are your thoughts coming from a stakeholder in the pre-owned truck or the pre-owned commercial vehicle industry?
It's a great question, Kaushik. I think, whenever Rohit mentions Kaushik also, my head kind of perks up because I'm wondering if he's referring to me. So, I think if you look at the pre-owned truck perspective also, I don't believe that we are seeing much of a difference compared to what you're seeing on pre-owned cars. Again, brand is something that's they really care about. The larger brands offer or get a higher premium in the market. You also have the mileage. You also have the features that are available in the vehicle, and of course the maintenance cost. I think these are the 4 major factors that actually come in when a buyer is coming in to think of pre-owned trucks. And I wouldn't say that when it comes to new trucks, it's much different either. So right now, safety is kind of relegated to a 2nd or 3rd tier when it comes to somebody thinking about it. The only place where we do see a little bit of a difference is in school buses, where schools have actually put safety as a primary consideration when they're making a decision. So this, is slowly changing because, like, for example, Shell, when they take a call on their products, I think there is a basic expectation on the kind of, specifications that are available in that particular product and available in that particular platform. So the corporates are slowly changing this culture. But beyond that, I would basically say that it is relegated to a 2nd or a 3rd tier. And, it's difficult to actually blame them for it because like what you're saying, even in cars, I think the realization is coming in really late. And where we've seen a difference is in places where, you have people that have been affected by an accident. So if you've got somebody that's been in a really bad accident and a truck has saved them, or they've seen a truck, damaged significantly and a life being lost, they do come in and start asking questions or probing more deeper about what kind of features are available to save a life. So when people are affected much more closely, I think you do see a difference.
Yeah, I mean, good points there, Kaushik. I agree with on the fact that safety is still not a top priority even when it comes to commercial vehicles. Unfortunately, it is not very different from cars. In fact, I'd like to bring this later to Dr. Sohi as well, to hear his thoughts. But before that, Mr. Malkeet Singh, I'm coming to you now. In fact, again, I was reading one of the articles where you had spoken about, in the recent past, about the Mumbai Taxi Men's Union, right, requesting the traffic police not to implement the rear seat belt rule, right? I believe there was a discussion that happened where the government wanted to mandate wearing of seat belts in the rear as well, but there was a bit of a resistance from the taxi drivers union to say, hey, please don't make it mandatory for whatever reason, right? Now, the order released by the traffic police does not have clarity whether it is applicable to different vehicle classes, vehicle segments, buses, autos, taxis, and so on. So I remember you had mentioned you wanted some more time before this is implemented and made mandatory, right? So talk to us about that perspective, right? On the one hand, we have the government wanting to, not all government at the India level, but at least the state governments wanting to mandate some form of a regulation, when it says, okay, not only for front, but also for the rear. Clearly, a lot of people in India still don't feel wearing seat belts at the rear is necessary, right? They seem to think they are driving in a different car. And, like Giri Prasad said, a lot of people think accidents happen to somebody else. It never happens to them. So, Mr. Malki Singh, your perspectives, how do you see the conflict here, right? The resistance from the taximen's union, as an example, the Mumbai Taximen's Union, and on the other direction, the need to regulate it, right? How do you see this conflict being played out in the Indian context?
First of all, thank you for inviting me for this important subject, fleet management, creating a culture of safety. As you have asked me the question about the fitment of the seat belt on the rear seats, which is only resisted by the taximan union because they need some time. Because all of the taxis have to go for the retrofitting. The time was short, and they have the meeting with the joint commissioners, and it has been agreed between themselves that if the passenger have not wear the seatbelt, the passenger will be fined, not the taxi driver will be fined. He will inform them it is their duty to put their seatbelt. So this clarity has come, and now the rule which was imposed for Mumbai city by the joint commissioner have been deferred till 11th, and the education in this regard is given to the motorist. This is the one subject. Now I'm coming to the today's subject, fleet management, creating a culture of safety. It is a very important subject, and fleet management, it's an art. It's an art for the big operator and a small operator. It starts from procuring of the vehicle, after sale service, proper documentation, roadworthiness of the vehicle, so no breakdown en route, monitoring of the vehicle, right from the start of the loading point to the unloading point. I will come to the detail of this also. Optimum usage of the fleet, as it's a machine to us. Optimum usage will yield a good profit to us, and our vehicles should not remain idle. And it is rightly said that penny saved is penny earned. And safety is the topmost priority among road transport operators. It is a need of the hours. For this, various fleet management system has been adopted by us. You have talked about a lot of the aspects, but the reality is different today. We have the system in place in the trucks. We have the speed alert, which has been regularly monitored by our staff. Overspeeding is not at all allowed in our transport company, and it is the general case with all the transporter. The driver has been called at that moment. He has been told that you are overspeeding, and points are given for this also in our organization. We have completely banned the night driving. No corporate of us allows the night driving. So it is completely banned. If some driver is driving during the night, we get the alert and immediately we ask him to stop the vehicle immediately. And if in case he don't stop the vehicle, he has been removed from the job. These all steps have been taken by us. Even route survey has been done. He can't deviate the route also, which has been defined by us. Authorized centers, dhabas, has been given by us. that on these dhabas only you will be halting your vehicle. If he is standing on the unauthorized place, the alert will come to us and we will accordingly inform him that you are standing at an unauthorized location. And also, all steps have been taken by us and culture has been set up in our organization from top to the bottom. It starts with the driver, it starts with the loading staff, then to supervisor and a person who is monitoring the vehicle en route till it's unloaded. And the summary is made of entire trip, what driver mistakes has been done, and accordingly he's been educated at end of the trip that these mistakes he have been done, he will be warned. If not rectified, then he will be removed. So road transport sector is very much concerned about the road safety. We are worried about the human lives of our drivers, and as a citizen, as a stakeholder, it's our responsibility also. We can't deny it. Now the thing is that the mentality should be changed. General mentality is that blaming the driver of the bigger vehicle. If the two-wheeler hit the car driver will be accountable, will be responsible for the rash driving.
Yeah.
Car hit the truck driver will be accountable for the rash driving. Truck hit the trailer driver will be accountable. Cause of the accident should be analyzed. What was the reason of the accident? Who has been responsible? What was the reason for that? Black spots, road designing. No analysis of the accident has been taken place. Simply the responsibility is put on the bigger truck.
Correct.
Bigger vehicle, you can say.
Correct.
Now you can speak that the education is required for the truck driver. If for becoming a member of the parliament, member of the assembly, no education is required. For becoming the cabinet minister, no education is required. So why the education is required for a driver? The training skill is being monitored. His driving test should be taken. It should be completely foolproof. No unauthorized center should be allowed to take the driving test. If he qualifies for the driving, then only he should allow to drive the vehicle or should be authorized to give the lessons. Now, the mentality I want that should be changed, and accordingly, the law should also be changed.
Right.
Dr. Soy is there. He is the member of the Road Safety Council to the government of Ministry of Road Transport Highway, definitely as a stakeholders. And from AMTC, we suggest that the law should be also changed. For a recent example, the technocrats, the MBA student, 4 student, driving from the Lucknow to the Delhi, touch the speed of 260 kilometers. They want to touch the meter to 300 kilometers. The truck standing idly on the parking bay was hit, and what was the tragedy?
Yeah.
That driver was made accountable.
Correct. No, I completely understand.
This mentality should be
has to be changed.
Yes.
And
analysis of the accident.
Correct.
And education, enforcement, engineering, and then come the emergency. We are educating the driver to drive the vehicle, to read the road sign and other basic things he required. Enforcement. Where is the enforcement? You do the enforcement, but do in the right way. Online systems have been given. We are propagating that online challan should be made, but it should not be misused. Online challan थे क्या भाई कैमरे आपकी गाड़ी का वायलेशन देखेंगे और फिर आपको चलान होगा. एंड आज तो आपने कैमरे दिए हुए हैं सब कांस्टेबल को. They come in the morning. Revenue has been set up. They click the photographs of the vehicles going. You are not aware what violation you have made. End of the day or end of the month, you are surprised to know that you have violated so and so offense. Correct. What we are suggesting that he should be made accountable right way.
Right.
With the help of the technology, very next stop, he should be stopped. The driver should be told about the offense, what he has made. And accordingly, the owner should be also be informed by the driver that I have been stopped, I have been penalized. He should know क्या गलती उसने की है अगर उसको सुधारना है तो. आज तो ड्राइवरों को मालूम नहीं गलती क्या की है. ऑनलाइन चलान कर देते हैं. सरकार ने बोला रेवेन्यू चाहिए, हमें पैसा चाहिए. So this was not the system of the online, which we have been writing to the ministry or to the state government and to the commissioner, every cities also, that is completely misused. When we talk to the officer, he tells us that we have been set up with the target.
Yeah.
कि आपने इतना टारगेट करना है. This is the system. This is the way we will create the atmosphere of a safety and the culture of the road safety in the country. Entire system has to be revamped.
Absolutely. No, what I really like
as
what
a
you said.
stakeholders, we are doing all our best
Exactly.
with the latest technology, with the latest fleet management system available in the market to see that the ratio is less. As far as my company is concerned, any mishap, any accident lead to the losses.
Correct.
Lead to our
Correct.
efficiency, lead to productivity and profitability.
Right. Right.
Because when the mishap happens, your problem starts.
Correct.
Right from lodging of the FIR, spot survey, towing of the vehicle, transshipment, then sending the vehicle to the garage, then idling time, our fixed costs are all defined.
Correct.
So this
No, I think accountability, which you mentioned, is very, very important in today's scenario, right? You mentioned about your companies putting in place no night driving, no route deviation, no overspeeding. So, and at the end of the trip, you said you provide a summary of the entire trip. That is going to be very, very important to improve education among the drivers, especially. Before I go to Sanjay, I want to run the second poll question because that is going to be very relevant to what I would request Sanjay to talk about. Rohit, if I can request you to run the second poll question online. We'd like to see what people or the respondents think are the challenges in implementation of fleet management systems, right? Whether it is limited compatibility, we've got a lot of OEMs, right, having their own fleets, limited returns on investment. People, a lot of managers don't see return on investment. Is that a challenge? Is it resistance from drivers because there's a lack of trust because they feel they're being monitored, lack of knowledge? Or is it poor data connectivity, in rural India or upmarket India where there may not be connectivity all the time, right? Please feel free to pick and choose one or more answers that you think are going to be relevant for implementation of FMS. I will give it a few seconds, and you can choose one or more options here from the list. Clearly, when we talk about the challenges, Mr. Malkeet Singh mentioned about how we are going to achieve a balance between, what the regulatory authorities are trying to do and how we are going to educate the drivers and the fleet managers to ensure we work towards reduction in accidents. So, Rohit, do we have the answers? Can we publish that on screen? Excellent. So, right, 58% said lack of knowledge on understanding FMS benefits, right? Followed by lack of or limited compatibility. Clearly, these two seem to be the top options. So, lack of knowledge in understanding FMS benefits or fleet management system benefits. Very, very interesting. So, I'd like to take that to you, Sanjay. Now, obviously, you saw that the lack of understanding of how a fleet management system is actually going to help them improve productivity or improve efficiency, reduce accidents. That seems to be a bit of a gap between what the OEMs are offering in terms of technology solutions and what the fleet managers are thinking. How is it going to benefit me? How will I use it? So as a fleet operator, do you see this gap as well? Number one. If not, how have you actually overcome this gap? How have you educated your drivers, your fleet managers to help them understand a fleet management system? What does a fleet management system do? How can you benefit from it, right? whether it is better fuel efficiency, reduced accidents. How do you see, as a fleet operator, as an interstate oil carrier, how do you see integration of technology reducing accidents and enhancing safety? What are your perspectives?
First of all, namaskar to all. Thank you, Rohit, for giving me an opportunity to meet stalwarts of the industry. So we were talking about fleet management system. We were talking about, Dr. Sui was talking about drivers. The drivers educate. They need to be educated and all these things. And Dr. Malki Singh ji also said something about it. I'll just tell you something about what we did at our organization. We are 100% of our fleet has an air-conditioned cabin. 100%. We don't buy a non-AC cabin. Why? Because we want to reduce the fatigueness. Initially, there were a lot of hindrances from the drivers. Driver thought they would lose on in fuel account. Then we educated them. You know, this is aerodynamics. You will get a better fuel mileage. You will get a better mileage, and then we will share the profits. The way we operate in India are totally different the way things are being operated in Western countries. So education for everything is must. Two, there is, if I go for a brand one, say for example, Bharat-Benz, we have seen their telematics data is giving something very different data are being thrown. Eicher, they gives a different data. How do we integrate that?
Exactly.
How do we integrate that? So that challenges these OEMs, they need to come on a single platform so that there is an ease of operation for us.
So Sanjay, please continue on the single platform thing. Yeah.
So we need a single platform. I can't ask, we cannot ask, say for example, if we use 4 brands, say for example, Tata, Leland or Eicher or Bharat-Benz, I cannot ask my people to log in Eicher, then log in Bharat-Benz, then log in Ashok Leland, and then log in Tata Motors. He will be frustrated. We need to improve the entire ecosystem, be it from the government side, OEM side, and everything. We were talking of fatigueness, right? Dr. Sui, I think Dr. Sui is here. So we were talking of fatigueness of the driver. We have procured air-conditioned cabin to reduce the fatigueness of the driver. Now you go to industry, you go to many installations. I don't know about Shell, but I know many organizations, they talk of safety and everything. Do they have restroom for the drivers? Is there a restroom for the drivers on the highways? We are a big geography. We are, I think Dr. Malkit wants to come in.
No, we'll come to him later. So you can continue, Sanjay. You know, I have a few other points as well to talk about. Yeah.
So see, all the participants in the ecosystem, all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, we as a transporter, I would say, I as a transporter, I am second generation entrepreneur, I'm the businessman in this industry. I have uplifted the standards, and I have told my son, you know, you need to improve the standards of the driver. Right? The social status need to be taken care first. So OEMs, you know, corporates who are using our services, government, we as transporter, we all need to be educated first. What is our ultimate goal? My son, the third generation is not going to come in the business if we hand over the business the way we are operating these days.
Correct. Right. Totally agree. I mean, Sanjay, I think you talked about a couple of very important point, which is on facilities. You know, clearly, you know, of course, it is changing, right? Thankfully, you know, we are seeing some changes there where there are highway facilities. You know, I drive a couple of times a month on the Chennai-Bangalore highway, right? I see a lot of new facilities coming up. Hopefully, they will get translated to rural parts or the other parts of India as well. You know, in terms of facilities that are available. Dr. Soi, I don't see you online. Are you there? Just to check if you're there. I think Dr. Soi,
his video is switched off.
No, but he's offline.
Oh yeah, I think he might have gotten logged out.
He's offline.
So,
yeah, but nevertheless, I'll come back to him in a minute. So I want to talk about the point Sanjay made on different OEMs having different platforms. So Giri Prasad, I want to come to you as well, because you are neutral here, right? You know, you do not belong to an OEM. You have a third-party platform, and clearly, you know, Sanjay mentioned his challenges of having multiple OEMs in his fleet and every OEM coming with a different platform. So as a third party supplier, do you see some middle ground there? I mean, do you see some commonalities from let's say a Shell or any other third party FMS provider who can incorporate all the common basic elements that are available across OEMs, across brands? On top of that, there could be some differentiators, which Volvo does differently, with Ashok Leyland does differently, with Volvo Eicher or Tata Motors. That could be differentiator. But could we arrive at a common minimum platform, right, that can be applicable across brands, across fleets, without the manager having to worry about, oh, which brand is it? What should I need to look at? So what are your thoughts?
Absolutely, and thanks, Kaushik, again for that question. So, just expanding on the point that Sanjay mentioned, the the challenge of or when will that culture of safety be established? That is when the infrastructure, the compliance, or the person who's actually complying, which is a driver or a fleet manager, and then the final the inputs, all the inputs are in harmony in itself towards the culture. Now, on that particular platform, when we expand it further, what is the case? Because all of this is happening as a part of the business. Safety in itself is a case for business. It is a case for a sustainable business, because you can't relate to a driver who does harsh braking but is bringing you profits, right? So where this actually helps, and the common ground that where Shell, from a Shell perspective, that we see is that we, being closer to the ground, we really know what a fleet manager's requirement is. One is utilization of trucks. Second, fatigue management of the drivers. How can you still utilize the drivers in the best optimum way? And how can you ensure that the energy consumption is minimized so that the world is more greener and pockets are right? And that's the middle ground that, a neutral space that opens up. And that is where Shell, from its experience of having or being supporting fleets in multiple geographies and continents, we actually have our telematics devices shaped up. So we actually offer this more as a mobility solution, which is as a path to the accelerate to zero, so that we reduce carbon emission. But the route to that involves impacting lives, impacting the fleet managers' lives, impacting the owners' lives in a more profitable, safer way, and thus creating that middle ground.
I love the point you made on sustainable business, right? Because at the end of the day, every fleet manager, big or small, needs to have a sustainable business, right? So Dr. Soy, I want to come to you now. There are two perspectives I'd like to request your views on, right? On the one hand, Gopi, from Ashok Leyland spoke about the influence of technology, right? Whether we are talking about collision avoidance technologies that will help the driver, in terms of emergency braking, for example, or a rollover mitigation that will prevent the truck from rolling over, in-vehicle camera, wonderful technology. So on the one hand, you've got a list of technologies. On the other hand, Kaushik from Leap Trucks spoke about safety still not being a top priority, for any fleet manager or any used truck buyer, right? And Giri Prasad also spoke about sustainable business. So there are two pillars or two verticals. On the one hand, you've got technology coming in. On the other hand, you're looking at business, right? How do you make it more profitable? How do you make it more sustainable? Is it possible, from your perspective or from your thoughts, can regulation become the tying point for these two pillars? Technology on one side and sustainable business on the other side. Do you think regulation in some form can bridge the gap between technology and sustainable business? What are your thoughts there?
Kaushik, first of all, I was listening to everybody, including Mr. Bal. This industry is highly fragmented industry.
Yeah.
And I will say this is a totally unorganized industry. Maybe around 1 to 2% they are organized. Otherwise, it is a total unorganized industry as far as commercial trucking or your fleet is concerned. Number two, whenever the government of India comes out with the regulation, comes out with a new rule, that is not at all acceptable to them. Speed governors, not acceptable. We brought out AIS 140. AIS 140 is you have to have a VLTD device fitted in your
Correct.
commercial vehicles, that is public service vehicles. It
Correct.
is not acceptable to them. They don't want it. They don't want their vehicle to be monitored. We in India have come out with the number 112. We want to monitor all the public service vehicles across India. It is the Motor Vehicle Act is a state subject. So they go to the states, they force them not to implement in their state. Government of India from Nardiya fund, they are giving plenty of money to for having a control and command center. The
Right.
control and command center will be with the transport department. Their connections will be with the police, with the emergency services, with the medical services. They
Right.
don't want it. And in fact, maybe 1 or 2 states, they have come out with the notifications. Other states, people like Mr. Bal and other big truck operators, they don't want government to monitor their public service vehicles. Only few vehicles in Bihar and in Jharkhand, where there is mining is happening, we are able to install VLTD devices so that we can monitor their mining of those vehicles. As far as safety is concerned, safety is not at all any concern to fleet managers because their drivers don't get killed. If I look at 500,000 total crashes in the country, less than 1,000 drivers of the fleet management, they are killed, of the truckers, because they are sitting much above the road level. You are killing the pedestrians, you are killing the cyclists, you are killing the two-wheelers, you are killing the car people. You want to drive on the right-hand side of the road. You don't want to go on the left-hand side of the road. You do not reprimand your drivers because driver are your bread and butter. India, nobody wants to be a driver because this is the least paid job. This comes with the least perks. Leave aside Shell or any other company. By the way, I have worked with Shell in Netherlands on a few of your projects. I tell you, they transport fresh and vegetables for station X to station Y.
Right.
They give the incentive to their drivers to reach in, let us say, 300 kilometers in 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours. That is not happening only in Delhi and Mumbai. It is happening all across the metro cities because
Right.
fresh and vegetables have to be transported in a stipulated period of time.
Correct.
In India, we have very little cold storage facilities so that they can transport the fresh and vegetables through the cold storage. Now, once we come to, I share my experiences with you. We, interview drivers and we ask them. So the police was with us in state of Gujarat. We asked them, please show us your license.
Hmm.
One driver shows a license. This license is this license of Gujarat. Oh, show me the second license. He has a second license of Madhya Pradesh. He has a third license of Punjab or Maharashtra. I said, where is the original license? Original license is at home. So they have those manipulations being done. Although Government of India has come out with the chip reader licenses these days, so
Correct.
the manipulations are less. But still, on the ground level, Kaushik, there are hardly policemen who are enforcing the drivers with the chip readers. Earlier, they had complaints that we have a lot of check nakas. After the coming of GST, the check nakas have been lifted. Now there are hardly any check nakas, but still, they take, Mr. Bal will agree with me, they take around 2,000, 3,000 rupees from their owners to bribe the policemen on the way, so that they are not challaned. With the coming up of with the e-challaning, so now they are feeling the heat. Wherever there is a e-challaning, it goes directly to their the owner of the fleet, so they have to pay the fine. Now the question here is, if we want to have the good fleet management, we need to have good drivers.
Correct.
In India, we do not have drivers. You know how many driving licenses we have in India? Anybody in the panel can guess? How many driving licenses we have for 130 crore people? Do you have any guesses? We have around 60 crores of driving licenses. Look at the population. Look at the number of children below 18 years of age.
Right.
It is difficult to learn ABCD than to take a driving license. In Punjab, we started a center for the training of commercial drivers for 3 days training after they get a driving license every 3 years. There was a hue and cry, there was dharnas, there were, hartals. We will block the highways. Somebody was talking about the school buses. School buses are moving like coffins.
Right.
Any tourist bus, which is, leave aside the reputed schools and reputed transport operators and fleet managers, any tourist bus which is over 10 years of age, for 12 years of age, they convert it into a school bus. So those buses are like moving coffins, and I'm telling you. The fleet management will happen only if we give driver the facilities. If the educate now, a person who's doing engineering from India, who's doing masters from India, he goes to United States and do driving because he gets good money there. A driver in Canada makes around $10,000 every month. And here, there was a question in the chat box that why the education is required for drivers. Education is required for drivers because education makes you more aware of your rules.
Right.
Education will sensitize you about the death and miseries on the roads. I tell you, there are drivers we have studied in drivers in northern and central India who has killed more than 5-10 people, and they are still driving.
Still driving, yeah. Unfortunately.
Nobody is stopping them to drive.
Yeah.
So until unless we do drastic changes, now why Government of India brought the vehicle, we brought a policy of going away with the vehicle after 15 years of the vehicle scrappage policy. Why? The vehicle scrappage policy is to see that these vehicles who are not roadworthy, they don't come on the roads.
They are taken off the roads. Yeah.
Kaushik, you might have heard about one motor vehicle inspector making 400 crores.
Correct.
One RTO making 500 crores. How they make 500 crores? Because you do not want to take your vehicle for inspection every year to the motor vehicle inspector.
Right.
Because you want to drive your vehicle in Kolkata and the inspection has to be done in Chandigarh.
Right.
You bribe the motor vehicle inspector for getting a fitness certificate, which is mandatory.
Right.
You do not get your vehicle checked for pollution. You buy a pollution certificate for 100 rupees. You buy a fitness certificate for 2,500 rupees. I'm telling you the ground realities.
Yeah.
Until and unless this mindset changes, until and unless you leave aside the money. Money is not everything. Until unless you have respect for human life. I tell you, these truckers, I mind my saying this, they do not have respect for human life. They are more concerned about the speed. They are more concerned about the point 1 to point 2 movement. They are least concerned about leave aside Shell or Indian Oil or any other companies who are, in an organized sector. But other companies, I have been working with Agarwal Packers Movers. They have done some wayside amenities from Delhi to Mumbai side. There also, we have gone and spoken to drivers to create awareness. No education, no engineering, no enforcement will do until unless you do enforcement at your end. You do not let, how many times you get your driver's eyes checked? I asked the driver that why we got the eyes of a driver checked. His number was -3. I said, why you're not wearing specs? He said, if I will wear specs, I will lose my job. Because the owner of the fleet, he will not let me drive because he will feel that your eyesight has gone down. So you are not fit to fly your vehicle. Why cannot he buy a specs for him?
But without the specs, he's even more dangerous because -3 is practically blind.
Kaushik, you are wearing a specs. I wear specs in the night. As soon as a driver of a fleet wear a specs, he will be questioned by the owner and he will be asked, you cannot drive now anymore. You be off the track.
Right.
So these are the practical difficulties and practical problems we are facing. We need to have a discipline on roads. We need to have large people following the road rules. I always tell the police people whenever I go and talk to them, I said, there's only one way to control these people. That is 3 E's. Enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. Book them to book, teach them rules. Don't let them play with the human life.
Absolutely. Spot on, Dr. Soy. I mean, very passionate. I completely agree with you. Some of the points you made, especially on some of the drivers do not want to, some of the fleet operators also do not want to follow some of the, regulatory mandates that are there. I want to quickly hear, Gopi's views and Kaushik's views as well. Dr. Soy mentioned about, not some of the drivers and fleet managers not wanting to follow the regulations, not wanting to, implement certain things. Now, there are two angles I want to hear from you. Gopi, from an OEM's perspective, you are bringing in new technologies. How do you see driver training or driver education programs to bridge the gap, let's say, in some form, because they are not much educated, like Dr. Soy mentioned, they probably are just 8th, 9th, 10th standard pass. How do you make them understand? Because I have interacted with a few drivers and they told me they don't like technology because they feel they are being monitored. And they don't like that feeling. They don't like the feeling that somebody sitting somewhere hundreds of kilometers away is monitoring their driving behavior, right? They don't like it. I mean, that perception has to change. They are not being monitored, but they need to be made to understand that it is for their own safety, that it is for their own good. How do you bridge that gap? Gopi, from an OEM's perspective, and Kaushik, in the used truck market, from the fleet market, how do you see that? I'd like to hear both of your perspective. Gopi, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of points from all the panelists, very valid points and counter points discussions as well. But one point which I would like to place here is the best way the safety, to enter into this industry is through the fleets. Because out of the, whether we say organized or unorganized, the fleet is the best organized within the commercial vehicles. So, and the drivers listen to the fleet managers or believe in fleet managers more than any other training session. Yeah. Because they talk in their language, they look at them daily, on, off and on. So our job primarily is to convince the fleet managers, and many of them are convinced on that need for safety. And to, many people ask us, does this technology really give safety? That's where we are coming in. We give them examples, we give them training and tell how these technologies will really save and will provide the necessary safety. And I believe the best training to the drivers best starts in a fleet, because that is a kind of a closed loop with both feedbacks going in and out the drivers to the fleet managers and back to them, and that's where it's best. In addition, we definitely have the driver training institute coming up. We have the current driver training institute where we are giving hands-on training of this. And driver, once he knows about this, once he gets a feel out of this, later he starts asking for this. Exactly. We have an example where once in a case, we had set up this in our own test vehicles. We also have a driver testing the vehicle. Unfortunately, there was a minor accident. That accident was caused by a person who suddenly crossed the lane into the truck. In that case, the video which was recorded actually helped him in the police case. Exactly. And now he became fond of this, and he said, I want this technology and I will drive a truck only where this technology is available. So there are drivers, I think we need to educate them. We need to tell them, because I'm sure no driver wants to go and have an accident, create so much problem in the road. Everybody is going to beat him up. Everybody is going to scold. He is personally also, doesn't want to kill anybody. That's a natural. Nobody wants to do that. So if he says that we help him, we convince him that these technologies is going to help him, I think definitely he will support it. That's my view. So in short, the point is training education is very important. We will have one way is formal training to driver training institutes. The technologies is also improving a lot. From what we had, just a GPS in our iAlert has now gone to an extent of giving a forewarning to the drivers. I think the future is a little bright there. And this is where the fleet owners can play a very big role, because they will start the spark on the road. And after that, the non-fleet owners also will start following this. Yeah, and that's where I think this will be a big change
Absolutely.
going forward.
Absolutely. Kaushik, your thoughts there, Gopi clearly mentioned about Ashok Leyland having a driver training institute, that addresses some of the points which Dr. Sohi mentioned, right? Lack of awareness, lack of education, understanding. So from your perspective, do you think having a robust training program, right, at the grassroots level, I think this is something Mr. Malkeet Singh also mentioned earlier, Dr. Sohi also mentioned, we need that at the grassroots level, right? What kind of training do you see, from your perspective, that is going to help address this challenge?
So Kaushik, I think just to summarize some of the thoughts that we had here also, if you look at truck safety, I look at it under 4 different, umbrellas. The first would be this building the safety culture, right? So ongoing safety training is very, very important. So I think what we typically recommend is that there is a driver training program that's conducted at least once every 3 months, because this gets reinforced over a period of time. This helps them avoid distracted driving. This helps them become better drivers, safer drivers. Another thing that we've also seen the best of institutions do is that they make safety visible. What I mean by this is that, for example, when you get into a warehouse, there are safe walking passages. There is a clear, a jersey that's worn where things are hazardous. There are helmets worn in areas that are hazardous and so on. So visible safety is something that gets, implemented. The second big piece, as far as this is concerned, I would say, is infrastructure. Now, again, like what Malkeet Singh ji was talking about, safer roads. Now, our roads today are much, much better than what they were 5 years, 10 years earlier. But there are vehicles that can go much faster. They are, highly powered vehicles today, and they can be driven really fast. So it's important to make sure that the curbs, the turns, the curves, everything is much more safer today than they were earlier. Similarly, signages also have to get better. One of the great things that MORTH has done recently is that they've published a very detailed report about accidents, where they've actually come upon top 10 blind spots, accident blind spots in every state. Now, if these can be highlighted in terms of signages at the accident spots itself, this will definitely bring down the number of accidents that we see across the board. Another thing that is also important is proper rest area for drivers, because if they're able to rest, recharge themselves and keep moving, I think it makes a huge difference. But then again, I think the question is who's going to bell the cat, because I think this is a place where nobody wants to address this specific issue, but it is something that's very important and needs to be addressed at some point of time. The third major piece that, Mr. Soy was talking about is regulation and enforcement. Enforcement more than regulation. The data, again, from MORTH actually says that 72% of accidents in India are actually caused by overspeeding. Drunken driving, as per the data, is still relatively low, but overspeeding is 72%, which is substantially high, which is more than what we see in most other countries. Overloading has to be curbed. We also need to make sure that use of safety devices like seat belts, airbags, that's mandated. Engine braking as a feature is coming in for hazardous vehicles, but why not for all the trucks at this particular point of time? Because like what Mr. Gopi was talking about, there is a lot of momentum when it comes to trucks. And the fourth major pillar around here would actually be the technology. You're talking about AI, you're talking about IoT, you're talking about sensors, cameras that can actually start talking to both the fleet and to the drivers and actually tell them what they're doing wrong. I think that can make a huge difference. I think it is something that all 4 of these factors actually play a very, very important role. But if you wanted me to pick the main one, I would probably say it is a safety culture and the training that makes the biggest impact.
Absolutely. Safety culture and training clearly, are going to make the biggest differences. So in the interest of time, we've got a few minutes left. I want to take a couple of questions from the audience. There's a question, unfortunately, the person hasn't mentioned his name. Let's say anonymous attendee. So anonymous attendee is asking, can we introduce a basic qualification for a vehicle driver? Could be anything, could be 10th, could be 11th, could be 12th, whatever it may be. But is it possible to introduce a basic qualification? Dr. Sohi and Mr. Malkeet Singh, I want your perspectives on it. One, from the regulatory perspective, I mean, how difficult or how easy is it to implement such a minimum educational qualification? Number one. And Mr. Malkeet Singh, from the fleet perspective, how easy or challenging is it at the ground level to employ drivers who have a minimum education qualification? Right, Dr. Sohi, would you like to go first?
Yes, we need to have minimum educational qualifications. Reason being, before that, we need to create those kind of environment and conditions and job requirements of a driver.
Right.
We cannot ask a driver to keep driving for 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, like we have in Western countries, Europe and US and Canada, that we have minimum 10 hours, maximum 10 hours for driving. And for 10 hours, we will pay this much.
Yes.
10 hours for 15,000, 10,000, whatever. I tell you, Kaushik, again, a very surprising and shocking to all these people who are sitting here. Drivers are paid bare minimum wages.
Yes.
You know, what is the salary of a driver in Punjab? It is 5,000, 6,000. Rest, they are incentivized.
Correct.
They are incentivized that, okay, you take the vehicle from here to here, this much. The expense you are going to incur on the way, the food expenses, this expenses. So they make around 10 to 12,000 maximum.
Right.
And they have to suppose one driver has to come from Mumbai to Amritsar. He will take at least one fortnight, 15 to 16 days to come and go back. So he will visit his family once in 15 days.
Right.
These are literally, our drivers are literally working in inhumane conditions.
Absolutely.
All the intoxicants, all the diseases are on the way. You come with me, I'll show you. Everything is on the way, and all the diseases they carry from Mumbai to their villages in Punjab to transmit to their families, and then it goes beyond the expectations.
Correct.
The reason being, we have to create conducive conditions for their work, so that then only we can fix the educational qualifications, and minimum educational qualifications should be 12, and not only 12. I will again go a little more than that. Maybe ITI with a diploma in some diploma or some technical education, so that they can handle the small faults of the vehicles as well, because they have to drive kilometers together. 100 kilometers. Suppose something happens to the truck, then they wait for the full day to some mechanic comes there. So we have to make sure that they can take care of the truck themselves, and we train them accordingly, so that they are sensitized and they are able to make around 15,000 to 20,000, 25,000 rupees a month type. Then only the qualification criteria will be useful.
Perfect. Dr. Soy, thank you very much for that. So, Mr. Malkeet Singh, I want to touch upon the points Dr. Soy mentioned. One is, how do we eliminate inhumane driving conditions? So I'm sure you're aware, a few years ago, we had this new company called Rivigo, right? Which implemented a relay driver concept, right? So that a driver drives a certain distance and comes back home, and for the next leg of that journey, a different driver comes in, and so on, right? So that way a driver spends more time with their family instead of being away for 15, 20 days in a month, right? So ground level challenges or ground level reality from you. How difficult is it to implement a minimum qualification, educational qualification? And number two, how do you see this relay business model? I know Rivigo is still doing very well. So do you think, a relay driver model is going to address some of the points Dr. Soy mentioned? What are your thoughts, sir?
See, we should come to the ground reality. And as per the ground reality, we should make any regulations. At present, there are 20% of the driver shortage in the industry, which is mentioned by Honorable Nitin Gadkari in the Parliament and the various forum also. As there is no conducive atmosphere in the country, are we having any highway amenities? We start from the parking. There is any parking facilities in the cities, on the highways? Have parking facilities provided by the corporates who are making an industry of 1,000 crores, but no parking facilities are given. They don't provide the parking facilities. They don't provide any rest places, no washroom, no subsidized food for them. This is the atmosphere which has been our drivers are working in our country. And we can't compare with the developed nation. We have been telling the government that truckers is a supply chain. If trucks will move, the economy will move. But what atmosphere you are giving? 20% labor shortage is there. Nobody is willing to take this profession. As far as the salary is concerned, I will disagree with Mr. Dr. Sohi, because what, as per my knowledge and as per my experience, today driver at least earn 30 to 35,000. उससे कम होगा तो आपकी नौकरी नहीं करेगा.
That's a little optimistic. I still feel. I think 30,000 or 40,000 is a little optimistic. But I could be wrong.
No, it is not optimistic. It is not optimistic. It is a reality.
बाल साहब, आप कितनी तनख्वाह देते हैं एक ड्राइवर को? Please be honest. How much you pay to a driver?
सोई जी, जैसे आपने सही कहा कि 15 से 20,000 पे उनकी पगार है और 15 से 20,000 उनके इंसेंटिव्स है.
बाल साहब, पंजाब में 5,000 रुपए तनख्वाह है, 10,000 इंसेंटिव है.
उनको काम नहीं करना चाहिए.
आप ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में हो. ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर यू आर पेइंग 10,000. आपकी मिनिमम जो ड्राइवर की एंट्री है वो 15, आपकी 10,000 होगी मैक्सिमम.
Sanjay, by the way, how much are you paying your driver? Sanjay, what are your perspectives there?
I will interrupt. आज कार का ड्राइवर, my car driver takes around 20 to 25,000, 22,000. 6 घंटे काम करता है. और गाड़ी मेरी कितनी चलती है दिन में? Let us come to the ground reality. If we are debating, my vehicle runs around 8 to 9,000 kilometers per month, which is 280 kilometers per day. 40 किलोमीटर भी गाड़ी चलेगी तो 6-7 घंटे की गाड़ी दिन में चलती है, अब 24 घंटे में से. There is no overspeeding. 7 से 8 घंटे गाड़ी नहीं चल सकती है. You are driving in the car. If you move from one place to another, see, your car will give the average of 60 kilometers, 50 to 55 kilometers per average. We can't go 80 to 90 kilometers in the developed nation. We have traveled all across the world where the hassle-free journey is there. There is no hassle-free journey. There are the checkposts, there are toll nakas. What is the need of the toll naka? You adopt the technology, you have different methodology to collect. We are ready to pay the toll taxes. We are ready to pay the toll taxes in advance. Why that vehicle lover should stop on the toll naka, spend half an hour there? That is a fatigue. Checkposts are there, post GST. What is the need of the checkpost? Why the RTO people are standing on route? Why the traffic people are standing? Vahan is there, e-Parivan is there, everything is online. Material can be monitored with the e-way bill. Entire consignment is being monitored by the government. And with other system, entire vehicle has been monitored with its documentation. Handheld devices should be there. There should be random checking. We don't say that there should be no checking, but there should be random checking. Why every vehicle should be stopped on the checkpost and asked to submit the documents and then pay the fees of 1,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees usko do, to gaadi ko chodenge? What is this? So how the national logistic policy launched by the Prime Minister?
Kaushik, before you wind up, I just want to make a last comment.
Yes,
Bal Saab ko bhi samajh aayega. Mr. Bal will also agree. Bal Saab, you said we have 20% crunch of the drivers. We do not have 20% less drivers. Do you know, if you go to UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and even Punjab, to get a job of 10,000 rupees, PhD, MBAs, people will apply.
Yeah.
Why don't you offer them 25,000 rupees salary or 20,000 rupees salary in an advertisement that we want drivers, 8 hours job, and we will pay 25,000 rupees salary? You are saying that you are paying 40,000 rupees salary. I am saying just say that 25,000 rupees salary. You will have plenty of drivers, and those people will not go for begging the politicians for jobs.
Correct.
Then Modi Sahab will not have to declare that I will give 2 crore jobs, or Kejriwal will not have to say that I will give 10 lakh jobs.
Correct.
Do that. You are the fleet managers. You are scarcity of drivers. Still you don't want to do it. Come over. We have to think out of the box to have a safety culture, to have these unemployed, educated people who are very all set to give their bloods. Come to Punjab. They are on, standing on the 10th floor of a waterworks, and they want to jump over it if they don't get a job of 10,000 rupees or 50,000.
I completely agree, Dr. Soy. I think we need to come together in terms of sorry.
हाँ भैया
20
सोचो,
seconds,
सोच के
Malki
इनको
Singh ji, 20
नौकरी दो,
seconds.
ये
ऐसे-
अनएम्प्लॉयड यूथ को नौकरी दो, ड्राइवर बना दो उनको यार.
As a responsible person representing the industry, I make the statement here only that we are ready to pay 25,000 and
Fantastic.
we will hire them, we will give the job to them.
10,000
As a stakeholder,
drivers.
I am making the statement.
My
That's
dear
a very
friend,
bold
I will-
statement,
The
Mr. Malki.
open-
I
it
really
is open
appreciate
I
it.
will give you
Very, very good.
10,000
This is the open
drivers.
offer we are giving.
I will
Absolutely.
give you
Of the
10,000
AMTC,
drivers.
which is the leading association all across the country.
I will
Open.
give you
Excellent.
10,000 drivers. I make a statement over it, and you can record it and play. I am spokesperson for BJP also. You run this on YouTube. I promise you, I will give you 10,000 drivers in 10 days.
You are
Make
most
this statement.
welcome.
You have put
Sir,
out the
fantastic.
statement. I will
Sir,
send it to
I
you.
think,
Sir,
I think
you are
Rohit, you have
most
quite a few
welcome.
action points that you can
Most welcome.
take from this.
Sure.
So,
Most
closing
welcome.
comments, Sanjay.
Where
Sanjay, last
Our
10
industry
seconds.
will be very much happy
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
to provide
Thank you.
10,000 driver to us.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sanjay, 20 seconds for you.
Sir, I totally agree with you with Dr. Sui on certain fronts, because we have been doing at our organization, but also slightly disagree with Dr. Sui, because the way he was so ferocious on the fraternity, sir, I really object, with due respect to you. But what I said last time, during the last time, what I said, I reiterate that all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, they need to be participant in upgrading the systems, upgrading, whether Dr. Sui from the government side, we have a lot of complaints against the RTOs. This is not the right platform to talk to Dr. Sui or any other. Let us bring in something which improves the entire ecosystem. That's my closing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very valid point, Sanjay. So to summarize, I think, gentlemen, thank you very much for your wonderful insights. I mean, it's one of the most passionate discussions I've had in a long, long time. I really loved it. To summarize, I think we need to look at it from multiple directions. One is, to improve, like Dr. Soi and Mr. Malki Singh said, improve the conditions and the way drivers are treated in our country, right? That mindset has to change. Number one. Number two, we have to make it a little more dignified in society, right? A driver's job should not be considered, oh, it's a driver's job, right? Somebody should be proud of being a driver, right? And how do we do that? By making it a little more important, right? Giving them the required respect that they deserve, giving them a better pay structure, and making them part of the ecosystem. Today, drivers are not part of the integrated commercial vehicle mobility ecosystem. We need to make them stakeholders in that, right? That's the only way it's going to change. And last but not the least, of course, how do we leverage technology? How do we make them understand? Don't make them feel that they are being monitored. Don't make them feel that somebody else sitting somewhere is looking at how they are driving and going to penalize them. No, make them understand how it is going to benefit them, how it is going to make them safer on the road, and so on and so forth. So I think we need to put our heads together. So maybe, Rohit, as a follow-up thing, we'd love to maybe have an in-person interaction with Dr. Soi, Malkit Singh, Sanjay, and all the stakeholders to see if we can create an ecosystem, in the commercial vehicle industry that is going to help improve safety, either through some form of a regulation, education, training, and, improving business working conditions. So with that, back to you, Rohit.
Thanks, Kaushik. I'll just quickly, end the session with a few closing remarks. I first of all, like Kaushik mentioned, thanks so much for the really passionate and insightful session. And I wanted to thank you all, the audience group, the speaker group, for joining today's session. I hope you found the session useful, and would like to thank the audience for their inquisitiveness and all the questions that we received. I believe we answered a few of them. And I would request you to take a few minutes to share your feedback in the form that opens when you exit the session. And I wanted to thank the speaker group for taking out the time for the busy schedule for this. Really appreciate your support, everyone. I know you guys are very busy. Thank you so much. Lastly, I wanted to thank our partner, Shell Fleet Solutions, for supporting us. And as I mentioned at the start of the session, pleased to inform you that we are doing an exhibition by the name of Transport Utsav in Baddi. And that will be a complete festival of transport, as the name suggests, bringing together truck owners, fleets, and solution providers such as trucks, tires, lubricants, finance company, insurance, engine, truck technology, and components. And we're doing this in association with Nalagarh Truck Operator Union, which is around 4,000, 5,000 members. And this 2-day exhibition takes place on 3rd and 4th of March in Baddi. In the meantime, here is a goodbye from all of us. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.